Well, the Calgary Flames have won back-to-back games for the first time all season long. Can you believe it? They defeat
And they scored 5 goals. How about that?
Absolutely. How about that? They defeat the Columbus Blue Jackets by a 5-1 score on home ice at the Saddledome in Nazem Kadri's 1,000th National Hockey League game. Mike Gould, Kent Wilson with you on this Wednesday evening edition of the Afterburner postgame show presented by Bet365, a presentation of Bet365. Whatever your bet is never ordinary over at Bet365. You download the app, get in on the game, and use the code NATION. And, Kent, I think the odds of Nazem Kadri scoring in his 1,000th NHL game had to have been pretty strong coming into tonight. We've seen time and again, number 91 in the red, white, and yellow play his best when there's something on the line in Calgary, which has not happened a whole lot in the 4 seasons since he joined the Flames. Certainly a little bit on the board, not just for him, but for the entire Flames team tonight. They overcome a bit of a shelling in a certain respect, especially in the second and third periods, to take this one by a 5-1 final score. We'll get to the instant reactions here in just a moment. We do want to remind y'all that the Afterburner Super Chat continues to be a thing, and proceeds from our Super Chat go to Youth Centers of Calgary, a place where kids are welcomed and accepted as they are, where they can get a break from the chronic stress that is the reality for many of their lives, and where they can flourish through connection and fun. I think I saw recently, Kent, that since we've started doing these super chats, we've raised over $7,000 for the Youth Centers of Calgary. So a huge up to everybody in the chat. They're always sort of the best parts of some of the best parts of all of our shows that we do here on the Afterburner, being able to read what you guys say on the air. Unhinged, the more unhinged, the better, because no matter how unhinged, it all goes to the Youth Centers of Calgary. Kent, we go to you. A 5-1 win. The Flames now 4-9-3 on the season, but certainly a win that seemed to have a little bit of certain significance. What's your main takeaway from tonight's game?
Well, aside from it being a really nice night for Kadri, obviously, getting the goal, getting the win, family being there, it's pretty awesome. The funny thing is it's a 5-1 win, so you can't say the goalie stole it, but it was an excellent night from Dustin Wolf. I mean, there was a point in the second period there where the Flames were ahead, but it really looked like Columbus was starting to take over a little bit. They were coming at him in waves. Wolf making a bunch of saves, and then there was like back-to-back 2-on-1s where the Flames scored, which is usually where the game flipped on them this year. This is usually what happened to the Flames, not what they were doing. And that's kind of when they pulled away. But then in the third period, I think the shots were 11-1 halfway through the period, and Wolf really stood tall and helped him get over the line. And that's probably one of the first real games we've seen like that out of Wolf this year. He hasn't been bad, but he hasn't had a game like this quite yet.
Dustin Wolf with 42 saves tonight, certainly one of his best performances of the season. That extended 6-on-5 sequence at the end of the game, certainly a highlight for him on the evening. The Flames do get a goal at 5-on-5 from all of their lines tonight. So certainly nice to see some of those things to come to fruition. And it all started relatively early on, Kent, as it was Morgan Frost deflecting a long-range shot by Jonathan Huberdeau, who picks up his 7th primary 5-on-5 point this season, leading the Flames already, despite having played in
pretty consistent since coming back, and consistently one of the most dangerous forwards, right? And I think we're starting to see a little bit of chemistry finally, happening at the top of the roster, because that was totally absent for at least the first 10 games of the year. You'd have one or two guys maybe have a night, but there was a lot of struggles. But that unit with Coronato and Frost, they might have something there.
They really might. Huberdeau really operating quite well, and his line mates are sort of holding up their end of the bargain as well. Certainly thought they were among the better ones on the Flames tonight, although the underlyings of the Flames tonight were kind of ugly. There were a couple guys who had good nights in the expected goals and shots and chances department. Most of them were underwater tonight, but
they started a 4-1 lead, right? So
exactly, score effects play a big thing there.
When you lead most of the game, you're going to have not a great not a great underlying numbers, right?
That's right. It's all relative. And of course, the Flames did tack on another relatively quickly there, and it was Blake Coleman getting his team leading 6th goal of the season. And quite frankly, a goal that maybe shouldn't have gone in. Jet Greaves hadn't really gotten set yet after an initial shot. Joel Hanley
have had, but at 34 years old, he's kind of come out and he's on that 30 goal pace, I think. Again, so good for him.
We have some great comments in the chat wondering, Kent, about your internet bandwidth and what is possibly causing the obscurities that we're seeing. I like the
it looks
comment
good to me on my end.
I know it always does. Agu Buon, who's suggesting that you're downloading some Rick Astley acoustic Christmas tunes. Are those a thing?
I didn't know that was a thing. I will check that out.
It's starting to look a little bit better now, though, Kent. So you're good. You're good. It wasn't
I'll
really
plug in next time. I might just need a new webcam. Honestly, I'm just using the computer. So
yeah, so am I. But yeah, it's looking better now. You're good. Right. We really only tune into Afterburner to hear your voice anyway, and it's a nice one.
I love it. Good.
Nice and silky. The Flames did concede a goal shorthanded later on in that opening frame. It was Kirill Marchenko getting free off of a bit of a misplay by Rasmus Anderson along the near side wall.
I think Anderson kind of reined it in after that, but bit of a miscue on that one.
It's bound to happen every now and then. This you had mentioned off mic earlier that this is a game that you might have liked to see Zane in, where it's a little bit more open.
Yeah.
Although
I mean, they're on home ice. It's not, Columbus isn't, I'm going to say, a bad team, but they're certainly not, Colorado with McKinnon or Edmonton with McDavid. You could have controlled his ice time and his matchups. The team's coming out fired up because it's Kadri's 1,000th game. I mean, this is a game I would have played that player, but whatever.
It's a tough one, right? And by the same token, I also see how the flow of the game turned after the first 20. And there were some long shifts out there, and I could envision some leg burners, but nevertheless, I mean, that's inevitable, and it happened to the veterans too. So you got to play the kid at some point. I'm not too concerned. They're 4-9-2 after today's win. Seeing some folks in the comments saying, they're on their way to the mushy middle. I mean, San Jose won tonight by a 6-1 final score, I think. The Flames have a long way to go before they're back to the middle. And something to be said about how last year they built themselves up such a big cushion. This year they've put themselves into a big hole. And it is real tough to come back from being 7 games below 500. Now 5 games below, but even still.
I do expect them to go on a bit of a run here, right? It's just because, Wolf isn't going to put up the save percentage he has for the rest of the season. He has that level of talent that he's going to rattle off. He's got 2 games in a row now that are pretty good, but that's the team is still fundamentally what it is, right? Its ceiling is a mediocre team, and I don't know if they're going to be able to pull their way all the way back up to the middle, given the hole that they've dug so far.
It's a long way to climb, and we'll see if the Flames can even get close. We'll see. Even if they do, they'll only be 500, and that's still not good enough. In any event, the Flames win tonight's game by a 5-1 final score, and playing a very large role in that in period number 2 was Nazem Kadri himself, who gets on the board for his 4th goal of the season off of a nice little Kadri, had about 40 folks, 40 friends and family supporting him tonight for his 1,000th NHL contract. Where do the Flames go from here as far as, what they do potentially with trading other players, trading Kadri himself? But for tonight, that's a big moment on home ice.
Yeah, congratulations to the player. And, when he first arrived, it was sort of the Daryl Sutter changeover. Everything got kind of ugly. You could see he was not terribly happy with the team or his position on it. And he could have kind of quit at that point. And I thought he actually was going to, but he's really kind of turned it around. He gives it his all. You can tell he definitely wants to win. He's taken some of the younger players under his wing. So, good on that player because he's won his cup. He's, he's made his money. He's got his contract, and he could have mailed it in for the next few years, and he didn't.
Yeah, it's been really fun to sort of witness the turnaround to a certain extent, to the point where, there's so many teams that you can just imagine Kadri playing for and being just a perfect number 2 center, even at this point in his career. At 35 years of age, 3 years left on his contract, a contract that looked to be prohibitive for the Flames at this point. I would say looks like, not quite an asset, but certainly not a liability. Right. $7 million for a player who can still skate the way that he skates and make plays the way that he does. That's going to be appealing to certain teams, especially if the Flames are willing to maybe, go through some hoops to make the money work. And I think Kadri has earned the right to play wherever he wants, quite frankly. And if he, witnesses this is the way to go out up top in Calgary, then we'll see how the next couple of weeks transpire. Interesting to note that Elliot Friedman had a new edition of 32 Thoughts come out during tonight's game. Absolutely no Flames trade-related content in there. None at all. The only thing that Friedman did say, though, that kind of caught my eye was talking about how Jonathan Huberdeau could follow a similar pathway to becoming a desired player the same way that Kadri has. And that to me is a very interesting storyline to look at as the next couple seasons continue, if the Flames are able to pull the same rabbit out of the hat in a certain way. So we'll see how that transpires. But for now, it's very still kind of in the exploratory phases as far as what's next for Kadri.
Yeah, for sure. I think, as you say, he's going to be a hot commodity if the Flames do decide to put him on the auction block. Montreal comes to mind almost immediately.
Absolutely.
As a really good trade destination, given their sort of upward swing and what they need. I think the player would be pretty excited about that too. Would the team be excited enough to trade him? We'll see. But Huberdeau, we'll see if they can convert that contract into an asset. I mean, at $10.5 million a year, it's going to be a little tougher. I mean, the raising salary cap helps for sure. And if Huberdeau keeps playing like this, maybe it happens.
Who knows? The one thing that we know about the NHL is that there has never been a point where there have been no more bad contracts being signed. And as the cap continues to go up, we're going to see some really stupid stuff. And
death taxes and bad contracts.
That's right. Yeah. So good stuff to chew on. We'll get to the super chats here in a minute, but keep sending them in. But play does continue in that second period for the Flames. We didn't really make mention, but they were getting just absolutely pummeled at 5-on-5 in the first 10 minutes. And all of a sudden they score a couple quick goals and it sort of all goes back their way. And the next one was Adam Klapka coming in on a 2-on-1 with Sharangovich, and also
and as you noted during the game when we were chatting, that was the first shot on goal for the fourth line. Up until that point, they'd kind of had their heads beat in up until the second period. But yeah, defender falls, Klapka picks it up, and on a 2-on-1 with Sharangovich, it's almost kind of brave that he's the one who took the shot, but good on him, he scored.
I think either of them would have scored. I mean, they didn't really take away that pass at all.
No,
but Klapka's always been underrated for his puck skills, and he really let that one fly. And you know what? Love to see it.
Good for him.
He's just a big guy. I don't know if you know that, Ken, but he's huge.
He fights sometimes. He's not the best fighter, but he is a big guy. Yeah,
he's 6'8". He's 6'8". There's a decent case to be made that he is the best forward in NHL history above 6'6". And
that's a short list. You're right.
It's a really short list. It's really just Klapka and Elmer Soderblom, and then a bunch of guys like John Scott and
fought people.
Yeah. 6'6" is basically the topping out point
cutoff
for guys for forwards like Tage Thompson and Eric Daze and Chris Gratton, those sort of skill guys. And then after that, you kind of start to see guys who were
too big,
pigeonholed into playing defense when they were 8
or beating people up.
That's right. So good to see Klapka get another one there. And the Flames do tack on a fifth at the end of this game. They finally get their first empty net goal of the season after a couple of near misses by Blake Coleman. Michael Backlund steals the puck at the very end and slides it all the way down the ice to make it a 5-1 victory for the Calgary Flames on Nazem Kadri's a 1,000th game. But I mean, Kent, we really can't overstate it again. It's just Dustin Wolf at the end of this game, save after save after save after save. 42 saves on the night. And I mean, for all the talk earlier in the season about how, Wolf was not maybe playing up to his contract or, was struggling under the weight of expectations as a sophomore. I think all that stuff was always a little overblown. I think you could always see Dustin, doing whatever he could to make these games close. And now he's finally stealing games again.
Yeah, and like skaters, goalies go through periods where they don't get the bounces, and sometimes they do. Like tonight, Wolf was excellent, as you say, but there was 2 crossbars in the third period, right? He wasn't getting, those are 2 goals that go in 2 weeks ago or whatever, right? Just he plays the same player, different bounces. So he's got the bounces the last 2 games. He's played well, but chance is fickle.
For the night, the expected goals 2.38 to 1.55 for Columbus at 5-on-5. High danger chances 10-7. Scoring chances 21-18. So, maybe a little bit closer in the chance department than the rest of the game would suggest. But the Flames do come away with a victory, and it is a big one because they've been, sort of getting into a quote unquote weaker part of their schedule. And they, if they do want to play themselves out of this funk, which a certain segment of the fan base will say they shouldn't, but if they do want to play themselves out of it, they're starting to pick up some momentum. But nevertheless, they are the last team in the league to reach the vaunted 10-point threshold on the season, which they did tonight. And even then, San Jose picking up that win. So the Flames remain in 32nd place in the NHL. Kent, any last really big takeaways from the on ice action tonight? Anybody else you want to single out who you thought had a particularly good or bad outing?
I think we started to see something from Coronato, who's really struggled this year. Obviously, he had that entry for the first goal, and it was, highly confident, but also highly competent.
Yes.
You can be one and not the other sometimes. But he had a couple more of those during play. And we need to see more of that from Coronato this year. He doesn't have the speed of other smaller guys, and he's not as slippery as like a Goudreau was. So he has to find other ways to make space in the offensive zone, and he seems to be starting to do that again. We'll see if this continues, but the Flames really need him to be, one of the top weapons on the team because they just don't have that many.
Absolutely. And I think it's good that you brought up Coronato because I also want to talk about the subject of our first Afterburner Super Chat of the evening. Proceeds from our Super Chat go to Youth Centers of Calgary. It's a place where kids are welcomed and where they can get a break from the chronic stress that is a reality for many of their lives. And we should talk from Big Dog, $4.99, talking about the glorious King Bison, who got another point. For those uninitiated, Matty Coronato did get an assist tonight. But his fellow first-round pick, Connor Zary. What is up with Zary? Is he feeling underappreciated or what? He really looked sluggish. Your thoughts? Zary's still stuck at 2 points on the season so far. Didn't love what I saw from number 47 tonight, but still on that line with Kadri and with remind me, Farabee, I think, on that second line. And it's been tough sledding. Zary scores that goal in the season opener where he deflects it, in my opinion, a little bit over the crossbar, but it still counts. Since then, just the one assist all year. He's been in and out of the press box. Again, sort of a guy who has been fighting it sort of in the similar vein as those Coronatos and the Sharangoviches. It's been tough sledding for Connor Zary.
Yeah, he looks like a guy going through a bit of an identity crisis, honestly. Like, we're not seeing anything from Zary that made him an exciting rookie and sophomore, right? Like, he had those flashes sometimes, like the Frost. Like, Frost had this really great zone entry tonight where he danced around guy, got a shot on net, caused havoc. And Zary used to do that pretty regularly, actually.
Yeah.
He was for a couple of years there, he was one of the best players on the team in terms of getting zone entries, making defenders miss, being deceptive. And there's just none of that in his game this year for whatever reason. He doesn't seem to have the confidence to do it. And that kind of neuters him. Like, that was his biggest strength. And when it's absent, you're kind of wondering what it is he does. Now, he did have a 2-on-1. He got a couple looks. He wasn't bad, which is kind of a step forward, because he's had a lot of games where he's just been outright bad. So it's kind of, hopefully they can put him in this situation and let him play out of it through a little bit and see if he can get back to being, a slippery, offensively capable, deceptive, good puck distributor when he's on, right? So we'll see.
Yeah, it's been a little bit tricky for sure. The Flames, they got the win tonight. They got the win in their last game. They're still a little bit confusing to me in that they like to play these guys out of position. Like Frost has been on the wing at various points this season. Zary is a natural center. And then you have Sharangovich, who is not a center and who can't win faceoffs and is, has really, in my opinion, struggled at center. And so there's weird things going on. I think there's a problem in the sense that they just have too many guys, and we've been saying it since the start of the season, where you can't give all these guys the reps that they need, and so we'll see.
They have too many of the same guy too.
That's
you know what I mean? You kind of want Sharangovich and Coronato to be playing the same thing.
Exactly.
You kind of want Zary and Frost probably to be playing the same thing. And Honzek's probably only here because Pospisil is injured, right? So he's fit in well. I mean, it's kind of the perfect position for where he is as a player and his strengths. And he's being babysat by two of the best two-way players on the team. It's perfect for him. But the other guys, it's just kind of too many deck chairs, right?
Yeah. You really wonder what's going on with Marty Pospisil. I hope we get to see him back at some point, but it's not looking so good because we really haven't heard a whole lot at all. Apparently he's back skating, we think, but it doesn't seem like it's imminent. So hard to say. But yeah, Sam Honzek has been Sam Honzek has been quite good on that line with Michael Backlund and Blake Coleman. He's done a good job, and of course, that's a plum assignment, especially for a young player coming into the league. Just sort of do what those guys do, and they'll take care of a lot of the dirty work as well. But Honzek's been a lot better in that spot than Zary was, personally, in my opinion.
Absolutely.
And so it's good to see, at least some things starting to come around a little bit after the start of the season where nothing was really working for the Flames. So sure. We should also thank Wade Conley for his contribution to the Youth Centers of Calgary, $2.79 from our buddy Wade. No message, but sometimes it's just better to be seen and not heard. So thank you, Wade. We appreciate your contribution. We should mention, Kent, there's a fella who you hear tell of around these parts. His name is Derek, and he goes by the surname Newman. I don't know if you heard of Derek Newman.
Very clever.
He's not an old gold prospector. He doesn't like his sarsaparilla. No, he sells houses. He's good at his job. And Afterburner is presented by the Derek Newman Group at CIR Realty. And if you're buying or selling, Derek will do the work for you. And you can email dnewman@cirrealty.ca. You can call 403-619-6661 or visit dereknewmangroup.com. And I have a hankering. I have a suspicion that you'll come across some very good information. So head on over there and enjoy Derek's people-first approach and unmatched service, as well as his trusted experience, Kent. And in these uncertain times, with all the things going haywire in the world and things just finding ways to confuse us more and more, we need to lean on the folks who we can trust. And Derek's one of those folks. So head on over to dnewman@cirrealty.ca, and he'll give you the good stuff. He'll tell you about what you need to do. And the Flames, well, they've got, a lot that they need to do, Kent. If they want to climb back into the playoff picture, which, maybe
they shouldn't, but they do.
But they do.
Right.
They've got an interesting road ahead, Kent. They've got a real interesting road ahead. And
let's check it out.
Well, we will check it out because the month of November, it's many things. It's a month of remembrance. It's a penultimate month of the year, if you know that. Penultimate, a good word.
Fancy, yeah.
It's my birthday month, so I'm always a little bit partial to November. And
You're
for the
turning
Calgary,
18
no,
this month?
yeah, thank you. Yeah, appreciate that. And for the Calgary Flames, it is going to be a real ordeal. It's a real trial of faith because the Flames, they've got some games coming up that will really test their mettle, as they say. And we're going to talk about that thanks to our fine friends over at Platinum Mitsubishi, 2720 Barlow Trail, Northeast. I endeavor to visit this place one day because, Kent, I've heard such amazing things about the folks up at Platinum, 2720 Barlow Trail, Northeast. Kent, I've been told such things that if you head on up there, you'll find vehicles that have a 10-year, 160,000 kilometer powertrain warranty, which I'm told is a lot
That
of
can't be
kilometers.
true.
That's like the distance from the Earth to the moon. I actually think that's 160 million miles, but in any event,
Close enough.
It's close enough, right? So head on up to Platinum, and they'll get you into an Outlander. And if there's any car out there that can take you across the galaxy and back without blowing a head gasket, it's one of those things. So head on up to Platinum Mitsubishi, and the road ahead, the Flames are going to need a pretty resilient engine here because they've done a good job early on of not playing down to their opponents in these recent games in the month of November. Coming up, though, Kent, they've got games against the Chicago Blackhawks. They've got games against a couple of really struggling Central Division teams in the Minnesota Wild and St. Louis Blues. But then, Kent, the San Jose Sharks visit Calgary, and the Sharks are actually
suddenly hot.
Starting to find their way. So, I mean, 6 games coming up, all but one against Central Division teams. Only a couple of them, well, I guess half of them at the Saddledome. But a real interesting segment of the schedule coming up here as they play at home on Friday before heading out for 2 on the road.
I was going to say, can you play down to your opponents when you're 32nd in the league?
Yeah, I think there's a way to do it. I think you can figure out a way to do it.
About that. But yeah, this is not a murderer's row that it was to start the season. So you're right. This is relatively winnable games. And if the Flames do have designs on the postseason, they basically have to run the table here at some point because, they're going to run out of time. They're in a very deep hole.
By the same token, you look at these 6 games, and I would say in 5 of these games, you're going up against a team that has at least one singular star talent. Mm-hmm. I don't know if St. Louis necessarily has that talent, and boy, are they ever struggling for it in the early goings of this season. One of the only teams that can rival the Flames so far.
They always play the Flames well, though.
They do always play that team, and they've already beaten the Flames once this season. Yeah. But you look at the other teams on that list. Chicago has Connor Bedard and Frank Nazar, who have both been incredible to start the year. San Jose has Max Celebrini, who is going to be on the Olympic team with the way that he's playing. And Winnipeg has Kyle Connor and Mark Scheifele and a bunch of guys who always torch the Flames. Mm-hmm. And so you're looking at this schedule, and I forget if there's anybody I missed. I think I didn't say Minnesota. They've got Kirill Kaprizov. And so, you're looking at the schedule and saying, okay, well, the gimme game is against St. Louis, a team that always beats us. And so it's...
there's no easy wins for the Flames this year. There just isn't.
There really aren't. And the Flames, as we mentioned, after their 2-game winning streak, are 4-9-2. The Blues are 4-8-2. So, the other teams there, they're doesn't matter which way you look, you're always looking up if you're looking at these opponents for the Flames. So it is going to be a bit of a bumpy road ahead. We'll see if they're able to, continue their ascent, or if they encounter more bumps, because we're getting to the point in the season where teams are going to start to make decisions, and the Flames, for better or worse, are going to find out real quick what their decisions are. Kent, you had an interesting line that we used in discussion with me recently, where we were talking about the Flames and the impetus of them making decisions when it comes to trading various players, signing various players. And sometimes, you create your own situations. You act in a way to adjust the scenario around your team. The line that you had when it comes to the Flames, potentially trading Nazem Kadri, potentially trading Blake Coleman, potentially trading Rasmus Anderson, is the Flames let the situation dictate their decisions. Expand upon that a little bit, because the Flames, they have every excuse potentially not to move Nazem Kadri or Blake Coleman or Rasmus Anderson, even, especially if they start to win some games here. But what is your take on the notion that maybe for this season, they should, instead of letting the situation dictate their decisions, they should let the decisions they make change their situation?
Yeah, it's kind of a proactive versus a reactive mindset, right? So when Conroy took over, he had all these expiring UFA vets, and all of them got contract offers, as far as we know, from the Flames at one point or another. Tanev, Hannafin, Lindholm. The Flames tried to maybe re-sign all those guys at one point. They were all rejected, so they were all traded. Basically, everyone that has been traded from the Flames told them they weren't sticking around up until this point, right? So while that was a good first step in sort of the transitional period they're in, whether they want to call it a retool or rebuild, whatever, we're kind of getting into the point of the build where you have to pick a direction and be decisive and committed to it, because you can't wait until things resolve themselves or they're an obvious no-brainer, because by that time, any opportunity that was associated with them is probably past, right? So they probably should have already traded Rasmus Anderson at this point. They still have time. There's a trade deadline coming up, but we know that if they trade him, it's because he's gone to them and say, I'm not resigning here, right? It's not because and then therefore the decision that has to be, it's been made for them. They have to do that because it'd look silly for him to walk, right? So the same token, like Nazem Kadri at 35 is a hot commodity. And if you told me that 2 years ago, I would have thought you were insane. And it's an incredible stroke of luck for the team being where they are in their rebuild to have a player like that become a big asset at 35 years old at $7 million a year, right? So do they have to wait for the player to come to them and say, I don't want to be here anymore? Are they going to wait to see if the team can maybe make the playoffs this year? Or are they going to say, we have this huge opportunity with a guy who's suddenly a very big asset when we need futures more than we need 35-year-old $7 million centers? And then you have that with Blake Coleman, and so it's, what is the direction? What is the vision? And if you have one, please commit to it and be decisive about it.
The thing that's interesting, and the thing that I've seen folks, latch onto as a pushback on that, saying the Flames have been proactive at times, is all related to Jacob Markstrom, who had 2 years left on his contract when the Flames traded him. But by the same token, it was the same scenario where the Flames had the situation dictated. They had Dustin Wolf. They had the best goaltending prospect in the league, the best goaltending prospect we've seen probably in the entire league in the last 5 years.
At the time.
Yeah, but not only that, the best goalie prospect we've seen in years. Like, as far as being the most decorated, the most skilled in that sense. I would say a generational.
In Calgary ever.
Yeah, a generational goaltending prospect. And so that was really what precipitated it. You can't wait until there's an equivalent to Wolf who pushes Kadri out. That's
not going to happen.
Exactly. Yeah. So you can't wait until there's a guy who's stealing his spot. I mean, I think back to a chat that I had with Conroy actually a few years ago, where I was talking to him about his career on a different show, and I asked him about what he thought about when Anze Kopitar was coming into the league, because he was in Los Angeles at the time, and what he said to me was that my first impression of Kopitar is he's going to take my job. and he was right, but by the same token, you can't wait for that to come around now, because you're waiting for Cole Reshny or Cullen Potter. And with respect, those
or
guys are
someone they haven't picked yet.
or some guys have, those guys are
Yeah.
years away. Those guys are
Yeah.
years away. They are either freshman or sophomore at age 18 in the NCAA, who are at about a half a point a game, and so we're light years away from the same circumstances happening. So yeah, absolutely. I am very keen to see what happens now that we have passed that 1,000 game milestone for Nazem Kadri, because it is going to be really interesting. And as the road ahead continues, if they do pile up more losses, well, the noise is going to become even louder. If they do pile up more wins, well, even if they get back to 500, I think we'll still be in a scenario where if the demand is big enough, the Flames might be forced to reckon with something inevitable. So we'll see what happens.
My guess is they're waiting until American Thanksgiving to see where they're at in the standings, and then to start making decisions. Because, I mean, there's that lore out there that if you're well out of the playoffs by that point in the season, it's not truly impossible, but it's practically impossible to make it back in, right?
And in my opinion, if it does happen, the thing that I am the most curious to see is how the Flames top 9 will be restructured, because as it stands right now, if you can put Connor Zary down the middle on a forward line and have him in a plum spot without Nazem Kadri being there, that becomes a lot more interesting to me. You can put various guys in power play situations where they haven't been. You can finally put Sharon Govich back on the wing instead of trying to pigeonhole him as a center, which he is not.
Right.
There's all sorts of things that will suddenly make a little bit more sense. So that's something that I'm very curious. And also, if you go far enough down this road, if things do happen where suddenly Blake Coleman becomes a commodity and he becomes traded, then you can finally start giving promotions to guys like William Stromgren or Rory Cairns, who probably need to be seen a little bit more at the NHL level. So, but for where we're at right now, you gotta at least enjoy a win. We're at the point.
Yep.
We are at the point, I will say, where the Flames have lost enough games where one win is not really going to change the direction in a huge way. And you no longer have to sort of, if you are on the fence or on the side of the fence that is saying, I want them to lose, which some folks are, they say, I want to see the Flames get in a spot where they're in a spot to get a good draft pick. We're at the point where they have officially lost enough games where one win is if you are in that mindset, it doesn't change a whole lot. So the Flames do pile up the goals tonight and win by a 5-1 final score. Some good stuff in the chat tonight. Mandeep is very happy to see you tonight, calling you the OG of Flames Nation, Kent. So I mean, it is true. It is absolutely true. You are the OG.
Yep. 20 years doing this now.
Good Lord, that is just way too long. Some other good. Daniel is asking me if me and Okotoks are on good terms. I love Okotoks. I don't know why I wouldn't be on good terms with Okotoks.
Are you feuding with Okotoks? What's happening?
No, I love this. I love the town of Okotoks. I go down there periodically. I'll probably be down there maybe next weekend. Used to work for their hockey team. Have no animosity there. I've done some work for their baseball team. Great stuff there. Love Okotoks. We'll always love Okotoks. Let's see. What else are some folks saying tonight? Because people are opinionated. People are, this Flames season has certainly been nothing if not opinionated. Shrimp on the Bobby saying problem is Flames management think they are a playoff team. That's their vision and not trying to pick high. I mean, I don't disagree with you, but by the same token, they're 4-9-2. I don't think the Flames are necessarily saying we're right there in their management group meetings so far. I don't know, Kent. What is your hunch? If you had to say the next 2 or 3 weeks, how do you think it's all going to play out?
Well, I don't even think that is their vision. I think, like I said, they're more reactive. They're trying to see if the team proves them right or proves them wrong, day by day, week by week, month by month, right? And last year, I'm sure they expected not to be as good as they were, right? So the team proved them wrong, and now they're like, okay, well, maybe we've got to switch gears, and we won't trade Anderson at the deadline. We'll keep our powder dry, but we'll try to do this again next year. And now they're not doing it, so I think probably in the rest of the month, they probably go 500 or better. I don't think that gets them into the playoff picture. So they're going to have to start picking a road, making a vision sooner rather than later, I think by the end of the month. And if they're there, I think they start thinking about, they'll go to Kadri and go, listen, we have some contenders asking us if you want to play for them. What do you think? And then we'll go from there.
The interesting thing that I saw, I forget who said it, it might have been Nick Kiprios earlier, is that, if Kadri does get moved, it's more likely that he goes east than if he goes south, which is really interesting to me. There's been a lot that's been said about Montreal, and I think it is a fantastic fit if that does end up happening. A team that I'm kind of curious about is Winnipeg. That would be a really interesting team. They have Jonathan Taves, who isn't really a number 2 center at this point, but the Jets are off to another really great start. And that's, they lost Nikolai Ehlers, who was a big time transition player. And I don't think Kadri gets enough credit for being a really good puck handler when he enters the zone. So that would be really interesting to me as well. And certainly qualifies as going out east. And everybody's going to talk about Toronto, but I don't necessarily know if
they have no assets. Like there's nothing. They can't trade anything, right?
That's exactly what I was going to say. Do you want Ben Danford and Nick Robertson? Probably not.
No.
So that's always going to be something to keep in mind. But yeah, it's really interesting. I like Agubwan saying, "Can we put Kent's internet provider on the trade block?" Absolutely, absolutely. Kent, we got to get you hooked.
I live in the country. Give me a break.
Yeah, Kent's out in Silverton or so, whatever it is. I don't even know.
Langdon.
I'm not gonna dox you. Yeah, whatever. Silverado. That's what I was thinking of. Yeah, something like that. Shrimp on the Barbie says, I keep asking about Utah and Calgary and Kadri. I can tell you who would say no to that is Nazem Kadri. But I strongly suspect the Utah is on his no trade list. I don't know for sure.
What about Winnipeg, though? You don't think they're on the no trade list?
I think he'd play there. I think he would. I would be. You know what? Personally, I would be shocked if any Canadian teams are on his no trade. I bet Kadri would love to play in Canada for the rest of his career.
I don't know. Winnipeg, living in Winnipeg for the next couple of years.
Yeah, but it's really not that much worse than living in Calgary. I mean, I get you don't have proximity to the mountains, but
it is worse. It's definitely worse.
I have a soft spot for the Jets. I don't know. But from a team perspective,
they're a better team.
They're an outstanding team. That's a team that could really use a player like that. And I bet for the number of number 2 centers that the Jets have tried to trade for over the years. Remember when they traded for Sean Monahan? They traded for Kevin Hayes. Way back when.
Didn't work out.
Who else? Paul Stastny, the Paul Stastny Jets experiment.
He was like 37 years old at that
Something like that. Mandeep is making a good point. There are no Chinooks in the peg, but nevertheless, I think it might be a good fit. We'll see. And they've got some good prospects is a thing. The Jets have some really good prospects that they could send Calgary's way. Guys like Brad Lambert and Braden Yeager, who would be really interesting forward guys. But in any event, Utah and I don't see it making sense. They've got Cooley and they've got Hayton and they've got a number of different centers who I think they have locked in.
Player vetoes that one.
I agree. Keep up with the chats. Magic number 14 with an interesting one. A solid Kuznetsov makes moving Razzie more likely sooner. I don't know if there's necessarily any correlation, but I don't necessarily disagree that Kuznetsov looked solid. I thought he had some moments where he looked a little jumpy with the puck. A little jumpy with the puck, but yeah, I thought he looked all right.
He's fine. Yeah, I mean, he's had 2 or 3 games in his career, so
yeah.
And this was number 2. He's the sort of player that you're not going to notice him on his good nights, probably. So they've got Brstevich in the farm killing it. The AHL. They've got Zane Parekh sitting on the sidelines. So I think they could trade at Rasmus Henderson tomorrow and be fine. Just because I don't think they're winning anything anyways.
Well, based on everything that I've seen and I've heard, I would expect Zane Parekh to be on Team Canada at the World Juniors this year, Kent. And, one place that I would love to go come Boxing Day and the days following henceforth to watch all those World Junior games, I would say would be maybe a little place called the Unicorn, Kent. You and I have been down on 4th Street Southwest. They got another spot, the Super Pub on 8th Avenue Southwest, 3 floors, 3 bars, 1 destination. It's the sports cantina for everything, hockey, football, soccer, UFC. We still have it in our script, all Jays playoff games with sound. But in any event, I would imagine they'll probably have all the World Junior games on with sound as well come Boxing
Guaranteed.
Day and thereon.
Yep.
The interesting thing to me, Kent, looking in the early part of the season, is for the Flames, with Theo Stocksilius out with injury, we're not sure how much longer that will be. Cullen Potter's off to a bit of a lukewarm start at ASU. Cole Reshny's been okay at UND. I'm really curious to see how many different representatives the Flames have at the World Juniors this year. It is a little bit early. We're still in the early part of November. I suspect Parekh will be there. He might be the only one. I'm really at this point. Reshny might make it. But the thing that's going to make it a little bit easier for Reshny is with Ben Kindle being in Pittsburgh and playing well, that might accommodate him a little bit easier. I don't think Potter's going to make Team USA. I think he's going to be maybe there next year instead. It might be just Parekh though. It might be Parekh, maybe Reshny, and depending on Stocksilius's health. But regardless, I mean, a healthy Zane Parekh being at Canada is sort of the equivalent of having 5 different prospects, playing for other teams.
Yeah, you'd think he'll be one of the elder statesmen there at this point, and probably the top 1 or 2 defensemen. So unless they pull what they pulled last year as a decision-making unit and take a very bad roster, frankly,
they can't afford to. Matthew Schaefer will not be there. Right. The number of defensemen they're going to have who are just not available to them. It's going to be pretty substantial, and I think they have an opportunity with Parekh to bring a guy who will be leaned on to play a ton of minutes. The other thing that I'm really curious to see with Parekh, who of course did not play tonight, if he misses, if he sits out 5 games in a row, they will have the option to send him down to the Calgary Wranglers on a conditioning stint. Is very similar to what we saw a couple of years ago with Dylan Guenther when he was coming up into the NHL in Arizona, where they had the whole 40-game threshold, which we've seen, 40 games on the roster, and they did exactly what we've seen this season. They did the start with the NHL club, go down to Tucson for a little bit, go to the World Juniors, come back, and immediately you're back to the WHL, go win the Memorial Cup. That was the they sent him back for the stretch drive when the games actually meant something instead of having him play in Saginaw in November. That's an interesting thing that I think the Flames might sort of follow as a bit of a blueprint here. And while I do think Parekh is an NHLer, there's been a lot of discourse recently that he's not an NHL player. I push back on that stridently. But by the same token, I think it might be a really interesting thing to tee him up for a big second half of the season.
Yeah, he's definitely going to the World Juniors for sure. We'll see if they pull the sort of AHL conditioning stint just to get his legs back under him, maybe some more confidence. I don't think he learns anything from going back to the OHL at all. He has absolutely dominated that league for 2 years in a row. The gaps in his game that he is not going to fill there. He has to play pro hockey, and if not, at least NHL hockey, because he can only spend a couple weeks in the AHL, and he's just not going to get better at the things he lacks anywhere else, right? So at some point, the team just got to suck it up and commit to developing the player.
We shall see. I am very curious to see what happens. By the same token, if they do send him back, I am curious to see, hopefully Hunter Brustevich gets some NHL action at some point down the stretch as well, because he is off to a fantastic start with the Calgary Wranglers this season. And I had Brustevich as a top 3 Flames prospect heading into this year. And even with guys like Honzek, climbing up the boards, I've still got Brustevich right there. We should mention a bit of a tough break for Henry Mews, out for the rest of the season in Michigan after a 9 points in 10 games to start his freshman year with the Wolverines. Takes a knee-on-knee hit. He is done for the rest of the season. So tough break there on the defense prospect point for the Flames. Kent, one more thing we need to tell the good people about here tonight. I don't know if you're going to be there. I might be there. I haven't gotten the old invite yet. I hope I do. The Jasper Pond Hockey Tournament. Once
Right.
again, back at the Fairmont Jasper Park Lodge, January 23rd to 25th, 2026. Kent, I fancy myself a decent two-way center. And I hope I get brought up because there's going to be teams of 4 to 8 players battling it out for the coveted Jasper Cup. And if there's anything in the world that I covet, it's the Jasper Cup. It's absolutely true. The weekend is going to be packed with live watch parties, off-ice events, activities for all ages. You can hang out with our crew. There will be pro hockey alumni there. So just you can head on to Nation Gear. There we are, nationgear.ca, and you can register your team today. Ken is telling me to steal somebody's jacket. I don't think he's going to be there, Ken. But in any event, there will be a lot of good folks there at the Jasper Pond Hockey Tournament. Skate hard, laugh harder, and make memories that last all winter. I might try to steal some of Tyler Yaremchuk's stuff, some of the Oilers Nation folks' stuff, because
they deserve it.
If there's one group that deserves it, it's those folks up the QE too. And my hope is that I get matched up against the team that has maybe Evan Bouchard. Maybe he'll register so I can get some breakaways. But in any event, it'll be a lot of fun. The Jasper Pond Hockey Tournament back up at the Fairmont Jasper Park Lodge. Kent, what do you think? You could hang out there. You got some moves, I bet.
Yeah, I played for years. It's been a while since I've been on skates, though. So I don't know if it's quite like riding a bike. We'll see.
I hope you can connect on your passes a little bit better than to the network, but in any event, that was a bit of a reach. In any event, we will conclude things, I say, for this Wednesday evening, unless the chat has anything more they want to put in. Remote viewer 57 saying Naz wants to play for a Sranley, not a Stanley, a Sranley. He'll be traded.
I see.
But it's entirely possible, but it's also entirely possible he just likes it in Calgary. There's some guys who just like to settle down.
I don't know. If I had to put money on it, he's going to go to Montreal, because I've been watching some of those games, and the vibe out there is it's huge. I mean, it looks like a lot of fun to watch that team and play on that team right now, and they're doing this right after a few years of a rebuild. So
the Habs look like a top 5 team in the league to me already.
Yeah,
and they are really good. They need to sort out their goaltending a little bit. Sam Montembeault has been a little iffy, but Daubish, I think he's been really good.
Well.
And their defense is starting to come around. And we were sort of discussing this earlier tonight, Kent. If you were doing a fantasy draft to disperse all the skaters on the Flames and the Canadiens, how many Canadian skaters do you have to go through before you get to even one Flame? You have Caulfield, you got Suzuki, you got Demidov, you got Hudson, you got first overall pick Juraj Slavkovsky. You probably take Noah Dobson over most Flames players too. Yeah. And then you get to Mackenzie Weegar. Like we're only talking we're only talking skaters here. It's the Habs are stacked. And they've
paid for it, right? They've got some other kids coming up too. Michael Haig's having
who's having an incredible season. David Reinbacher, big defenseman. They've got guys. They've got a lot of guys, and it's really starting to come along. That would be something if Nazem went out there. And you know what? They've got pieces. I believe they owe the Flames a first-round pick.
They do. Yeah.
They really do.
They stole that one.
They sure do. We're going to wrap it up talking Bet365, our matchup of the day for tomorrow. And Kent, it's a real barn burner.
Oh boy.
What do you think? What would be a good matchup to talk about on a Wednesday night? A little past 11:30. How about
Is there Nashville involved?
Not quite, but it's how about Buffalo and St. Louis?
Oh boy,
the Patrick Berglund Bowl. Yeah,
wow, that's a deep cut.
There you go. The Vlad Sabotka, the Sabres and Blues going at it tomorrow. I like those Sabres, Kent.
They can do it this year. I don't know. 14 years is enough.
They've had some rough luck early on in the season. They got a point against Utah last night. I think St. Louis is terrible. Who could have seen this? who could have seen this coming? They get all they deserve all the scorn they get after they traded for Zach Bolduc for Logan Mayo.
And Binnington tried to steal Ovechkin's cup tonight, or puck tonight. Did you see
He
that?
tried to steal his cup. Ooh, that'd be something.
His puck. He can't.
Yeah, his puck.
That.
Yeah, well, Alex Ovechkin scored his 900th career goal tonight against the St. Louis Blues, and Jordan Binnington had some hijinks he tried to pull, trying to steal that puck away. I'm sure they'll be talking about that on the Barn Burn tomorrow.
Such a jackass.
Yeah, so the Blues back-to-back nights going up against Buffalo in Buffalo. The Sabres have been a little up and down, but good to see Noah Ostlund score his first NHL goal yesterday against the Utah Mammoth. The Sabres, they got to pull it together around sometime. I like that, Josh.
Right?
I like that Josh Doan guy for them too. So we'll see. We'll see what happens tomorrow. I would bet on Buffalo against St. Louis.
Too.
So there you go. Bet 365. It's never ordinary. It truly is never ordinary, especially if you're at KeyBank's Arena in Buffalo watching those Sabres against the St. Louis Blues. Mandeep, I have one more question before we sign off. Mike and Kent, who are your favorite Flames currently, including Wranglers? Kent, you go first.
Oh, no, you go first.
Really?
Yeah, I don't know. Do I have a favorite?
Longtime viewers of this show know that I've always been a little bit partial to Yegor Sharangovich, even though he's had a bit of a rough start in his last couple seasons. I mean,
I think it's going to be Perek for me at some point.
Yeah,
given the talent on the team, I'm going to go with Backlund because for years I had to be kind of a staunch Backlund defender. He went through a long period of people not liking him very much. There's still a large cohort of the fan base that don't really appreciate what he does, but at his age, he's still playing some of the toughest minutes on the team, if not the league. He's doing it still pretty well. And he's a great ambassador for the city, the franchise. I think he's going to retire here. He's probably going to get, a job with the team. Underappreciated player and a great guy.
Yeah, I mean, I liked Yegor back in his New Jersey days. I wanted the Flames to trade for him, and it's been tricky because they signed him to a big contract and immediately took him off the power play. And quite frankly, with the way that he's been playing,
where he belongs. Yeah,
he probably shouldn't. Maybe doesn't deserve to be there based on merit, but nevertheless, once they trade Kadri.
Did you see the power play tonight? I mean,
but then again, the power play is awful, so they might as well change it up.
They gave up 2 more breakaways on the power play tonight.
So I don't know. I mean, I'm a huge Dustin Wolf fan. I was one of 5. I was one of 5 people in the building for Dustin Wolf's first pro game who did not work for the Flames. It was during the pandemic. It was me, Darren Haynes, maybe 3 other media people. Might not have even been 5. The saddle room was empty. I sort of talked my way into a media credential, and I got to see him allow 5 goals against the Toronto Marlies. And he got pulled his first pro game.
Yeah, that was rough.
And after that, he never looked back. And so I will always remember being at Dustin Wolf's first pro game because almost nobody else was. So I can say I was there from the beginning. But just being able to watch him in Stockton, going down there to see him play, and then coming up back to Calgary with the Wranglers being incredible on their inaugural team. It's definitely one of the first players who I can say I have actually covered from the beginning. And a nice guy, just a really nice guy. You interact with some of these players and just really down to earth and approachable, which goaltenders can sometimes be a little volatile, but Wolf is, a special guy. So that would be my answer for sure. Although
cool.
long live Yegor. Hopefully Yegor can sort it out. Just
good luck to him.
Take him out of center. He can't win a friggin' face-off to save his life.
He is not a center.
He's not a center. I feel bad for him. I feel bad for him. It's just not his position. He should be. Yeah. He should be running shotgun with a top center and just sort of firing goals. That was what he did in New Jersey. Nevertheless, we
skate up and down the wing and take shots. That's his thing.
We digress. We've gone over an hour, which I didn't expect to do tonight.
I blame you.
It's always my fault. Kent, we always appreciate it. We always appreciate Jack, the good old producer. Jack, we haven't heard from you at all tonight. Jack, I think, is just meditating. Maybe
what's
eating
going
some
on?
soup.
No, I'm still hungover. I'm still yes.
The Nashville trip, yeah.
Yeah. We appreciate you sticking it out, Jack, and we appreciate everybody for tuning in. We appreciate the good folks over at the Youth Centers of Calgary and with the Derek Newman Group, Bet365, Platinum Mitsubishi, the Unicorn, and we encourage you once again sign up for that Jasper Pond Hockey Tournament at nationgear.ca. One more time for Kent Wilson and for our buddy Jack and for everybody in the chat. My name is Mike Gould. Thank you so much for tuning in on this Wednesday night as the Flames win 5-1 prior to our edition of Afterburner.